part one of our miniature prep session for SAT prep. So this is very similar to what I've been doing with my SAT prep students this year in the first semester, etc. So let's first go over the logistics of the SAT. Now, there are 58 questions on the SAT math sections. There's two sections for math. There's a no calculator section, which is 20 questions. There's a calculator section, there's 38 questions. For the no calculator section, 25 minutes. So that means for no-calc, it's roughly a minute, 15 seconds for each question. For the calculator section, it's 55 minutes. That amounts to a minute, 27 seconds per question. Now, some questions will not take that long. Some of them will. Some questions will not take that long, some of them will. As far as the content on the test, it is mostly what you learned in high school. So that's your Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry. But also there are some concepts that you would have used in 8th grade, 7th grade, reading information from tables, so on and so forth. Now, in terms of the information on the test. So 1/3 of the test is roughly basic algebra. That's your Algebra 1. So whenever you took Algebra 1, 1/3 of the test comes from that. Problem solving and data analysis, that's your ratios, proportions, mean, median, mode, probability. So middle school math / Algebra 1. Advanced algebra is essentially what you're in now. And the additional topics is geometry, trig. There's a couple things, well, one concept from Algebra 2, and that's complex numbers. They consider that an additional topic. Now, for those of you all who didn't necessarily like geometry, couldn't stand geometry, whatever the case may be, this section makes up a grand total of 6 questions. 6. This is primarily an algebra test. It's primarily algebra. So there's 6 questions on the related to geometry and trig. That's it. But these are the 4 sections that it divides itself up into. So for those of you who are freshmen and sophomores who are wondering, well, how does this apply to me and I don't take the SAT this year? Number 1, you're going to have to take it. That's a graduation requirement. So get over yourself. Number 2, you will take the PSAT, which is a National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. National Merit Scholarship every year gives out about $300 million in scholarships. In order to qualify to get at that money, you got to do well on that test. Most people who end up being National Merit Scholars end up getting full scholarships because of being a National Merit Scholar. So do not make sure you take it seriously. So, any questions so far? All right, as far as scoring goes, scoring range, minimum score is a 200. They tell you to start the test, you put your head down, okay, you get a 200, you keep it moving. 800, you get all the questions right, 800 for the math section. Each question is worth roughly about 10 points. Roughly about 10 points. So, I want you to peep this out though. Your average SAT math score in the United States is a 530. That's roughly about 33 questions correct. 33 questions correct is the same thing as getting a 57% on a test, which is an F. It is very rare that you can get an F on a test, and that's the average score. That's the average, very much acceptable score. Now, you all are not average. You are above average students. So most of you are not going for 530. Most of you are probably going for something in the 600s, something in the 700s. You might be a person that want to try to get a perfect score. Instead of trying to shoot for a perfect score, think about the college, the university, the scholarship that you're trying to get. Look at what those requirements are, and that's what you shoot for. You don't need to get an 800 in the math section to get into a particular college. Well, maybe Harvard. But, so you need to do a little research and figure out, where do I want to go? What do I want to major in? What do I want to do? And gear your preparation towards it. Any questions before we continue? Again, there's a couple of you who are in SAT prep or have me for SAT prep, so you've heard this before already. All right. As far as the format of the test, of course you have multiple choice, so A, B, C, D, pick the question, you're good. Then there's grading. Grading questions are like workout problems. Workout problems. So there's a couple things you need to know about the grading. Number one, notice the grid. 4 characters. 4 characters is the maximum length of your answer. So that means if you have an answer like 10,000, you're doing something wrong, because you can't put 10,000 in the boxes. Another thing, you must bubble it in. You must bubble in your answer. SAT doesn't care if you write it in. If you don't write it in, okay. They're running your test through a computer. The reason why they have you write it in is so that if computer malfunctions, they can go back and look at your answer. But you don't want to write it in? Okay. So what else do you need to know? Rounding. Rounding here is no big deal. Now you all are used to having me for a year. There's a little tricks all the time about you not rounding correctly. The SAT doesn't care. So if you have 3.056, if you're rounding to the hundredths place, technically the answer is 3.06. But for the SAT, you get 3.05, that's okay. They don't care about rounding. They care about, did you get the right number? Last but not least, if you look at these boxes, one thing you should notice, there is no negative sign. No negative sign. Meaning, if you get a negative answer, you did something wrong. Just point blank, know that in advance. Either A, they don't want you to give that answer, or B, you did something wrong. We'll go back and figure it out. Any questions with the gridding? All right. And next part. Now, there are some of you that geometry might have been a struggle for you. All these formulas that you see on the screen, you get when you take the SAT. They will literally give you a sheet that has all these formulas on it. On the practice test that I'm giving you, the formulas are right there. You are expected to use them. They give them to you. So all you have to do is know how to use them. Know how to use them. But you will get those formulas for free. You'll get these formulas for free. So, one other thing I'll talk to you about is some strategies for the test. Now, I'm not going to read through all of them, but there's some things that you should keep in mind. Number one, this is the important one. This test is not written for you. They are not sitting somewhere and writing the test for Jeremiah Ryan, Honors Algebra 2 Trig student at Homeland Baltimore High School. They're not writing a test specific to you. They're writing the test for the average U.S. high school student to see what is their level of college readiness in math. So don't take it personally if you don't know how to answer every single question. Don't take it personally and then go back and say, I was never taught this. I don't know how to do this. There might be things on the test that you might not know how to do. Okay? That's why it's extremely rare that people get perfect scores on. The best way for you to prepare is to take challenging courses, which you're in this class, so you are. Do your homework, which most of you do. I do say most, because some of y'all don't do your homework. Prepare for your quizzes and tests. Most of you all do that. Ask and answer lots of questions. Look, I'll be frank, there's about half of y'all that don't ask nothing, so that's about 50-50. So, that's how you prepare for an SAT. Point blank period. Everything else is standard operating procedure. Skip the most difficult math questions until the end. Figure out what you're weak in and practice it. Experiment with different strategies. The SAT is not going to ask you to show your work. You don't want to show your work? Be my guest. They just care about the 58 answers that you give. 58 answers that you put on that answer sheet. Understand your mistakes. Most of you make mistakes simply because you go too fast. Figure it out. Figure out the minor mistakes you're making. Keep it moving. One main thing, monitor your time. This is not an in-class test in which, oh, you didn't finish, you can come after school and do it. You can come after school and finish it up. No. Once time is up, time is up. So you gotta learn how to work in a time setting. Guess on every question you don't know. Look, don't leave any questions blank. That's dumb. If you don't get it wrong with a guess. Last but not least, self-care on the day before. Look, if you don't know it Monday night, you're not going to know it. You need to take some time, rest your brain, rest your body. That means not playing Call of Duty until 2 a.m. in the morning, not doing TikToks until 3:30 in the morning, go to bed, go to sleep, eat some breakfast. You got to take care of your body so that you can perform. So, those are some strategies that you can use to do well in the SAT. Again, if it seems like I'm being harsh, it's because I really truly do care about y'all. I want y'all to be successful. I want y'all to do well. That and look, I can't come to y'all college and teach y'all class. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. And I ain't got no money to pay for y'all to go to school. So I need y'all to do well so y'all can get scholarships, get money, and all that good stuff. Any questions before we do some practice? All right. So this is how the practice is going to go. So we're going to do 2 rounds of practice right now. So in a second, you're going to work on a no calculator, a sample no calculator portion of the SAT. You're going to get 8 questions, and you're going to have 10 minutes to work out the problems. Once those 10 minutes are up, then we're going to go to the calculator section, and you'll get the exact same time. 7 questions, 10 minutes. When you finish, I'll show the answers for all 15 problems, and I will show you what you would have gotten on the SAT if this was a real test. So if this was for real, you'll see what you got. Now later on today, I will upload the answer key for all 15 questions so that you can at least see how everything should have been worked out. But that being said, anyone have any questions, comments, concerns before we get started? So for those of you who are not using a Chromebook, who are looking off of your phone, I will format the screen so that all the questions are on the screen. You might have to zoom in, zoom out in order to do that, but you should be working on it off of your Chromebook anyway, so oh well. I will give you a notification when there's 5 minutes remaining for each section, just like they would on the SAT. But if you don't have any questions, let me put the no calculator section on the screen. Those of you who are working off of your Chromebook, you can just scroll to the no calculator section, read each question carefully, and begin work. Your time starts now. Again, this is the no calculator section, so you should not be using a calculator. You have 5 minutes remaining. All right, and that is time for the no calculator section. So we're going to go ahead and move to the calculator section. So again, the calculator section has 7 questions and you will receive 10 minutes. That's the same time frame that it would be if you were taking the SAT for real. After the calculator section, we will go through the answers. Well, I'll post the answers for all 15 questions. So here is your calculator section. Read each question carefully and begin work. Your time starts now. My hope is that through the miniaturized practice that you just did, you got a feel for just how much time goes into preparing for a test like the SAT, and you saw for yourself how much you may need to adjust how you approach it as you prepare to take the SAT. Definitely those of you who are juniors who are preparing to take it on Tuesday, and those who may have another year or another 2 years before you have to do it. But learning how to take tests in a time setting is very, very important. So as you all prepare to re-enter school the way it's normally done next year, when you get a timed test, instead of moaning and groaning about it, take it as an opportunity for you to be able to practice that particular skill. Anyway, what you see on the screen are the answers for the no calculator and the calculator section. Obviously, we don't have time to go through all the answers right now, but what I will do is post the answer key to Google Classroom and post the answer explanations for each of the problems. That way you can see why each problem is what it is. On the right-hand side is based off of the number of questions you got right in this little mini 15 question deal that you just did. If this was the real SAT, what would have been your score? So obviously, if you don't get any correct, you get a 200. If you got them all right, you got an 800. And then whatever in between is whatever in between. The highlighted ones are the numbers that would have been at or above the United States average. So you can see what the scores were there. Again, as it relates to SAT, there's no way that you can be retaught 6 years of math in, for some of you, a week, or if you're not taking it till next year, a few months. There's no way you can be retaught all that. What you can do is do lots of practice problems, get explanations and get help for the problems that you don't understand, and then just have enough confidence in the fact that you're going to be fine. If you're an English person, then you score highly in English and make sure that you at least get the average score in math. If you're very good at math, you score highly in math and then hope to at least get the average score in English. If you're good in both, then go crazy on both then. If you suck at both, stop kidding yourself. You don't suck at English and you don't suck at math. Obviously, you're in this class. You belong here for a reason. So you don't suck. Just allow yourself to be great. But like I said, I will post all of this to Google Classroom along with the explanations so that you can do what you need to do. Remember, the homework assignment that is due on Monday, you are to complete the entire SAT practice test that is uploaded there. That is not optional. So when you finish it, you will upload the answers to a Google Doc that I will send the link out for this afternoon. It will be attached to Google Classroom for you to upload your answers there. That way it can grade it, tell you what grade you got, and we can use that to guide our explanations on Monday. Other than that, again, for the practice SAT, I will print out copies and have them available in the South Cafeteria. Unless you want to print 22 pages at home, you want to do that, be my guest. But I will print out copies so that everyone can have one if you want a printed copy. So those will be available sometime after probably 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, but other than that, if you have questions, feel free to stick around. Otherwise,